Hi, in this video we will learn how to create a simple definition in Grasshopper that can extrude curves to a specific surface where the top of the extrude takes the shape of that surface. In addition to that, we can control the tapering of this extrusion. So let's create a new file in Grasshopper and start from scratch. Okay, first I need to reference all of these curves inside Grasshopper. I have two curves here that I will use to create the surface. I will create the surface inside Grasshopper. Also, here I have some closed shapes that I will use to do the extrusion. First, I need to reference these curves here. So I go to Param menu, bring a curve component, right click, set multiple curves, and I will choose all of these, enter. Just for to make things clear, I will press Ctrl G to make a group out of this and give it a name. I will call it curves to extrude, and now I need to reference these two curves here. I will bring a curve component also, right click, set multiple curves. I will choose this one and this one, enter. Okay, also Ctrl G, give it a name, curves to make a surface. So the next step, I will create the surface. So from the surface menu, I will bring a loft component, and I will plug the curves, and here I have the surface. Now the display of the surface is kind of low quality. I will go here and choose high quality so I can see it in a better way. And now what I should do, I need to create an offset for all of these curves. So I go to curve menu here in utilities. I can choose the offset curve. I can see it here and here. It's the same, so I will bring the offset component and plug the curves to it. Here, as you can see, there is a default value of 1. To control that, I will go to Param menu again, bring a slider, double click, and I will choose a minimum of maximum 5, let's say, and a maximum of 5 also. Having a minimum below 0 and a maximum above 0 will help me to create a loft that goes outward or inward. I will plug the slider here. As you can see now, I can offset outward and inward. So now what I should do, I need to plug the output of this offset component. The output is those offsetted curves. So I want to project these offsetted curves into this surface. So I go to curve, utilities, and choose project. Here I will plug the offsetted curves into C. The C input is asking us for the curve to project, and in the B input I will plug the surface. And now, as you can see, those curves are projected here. Now I don't need to see the offsetted curve, so I can right click and turn off the display. Now, as you can see, when I play with the slider, the projected curves are increasing and decreasing in size. So now the two components that I need are the projected curves and the original curves. So what I need to do, my last step, is to create a loft between each curve, each original curve, and the projected curve. First, let's check the data structure of each of these. So I will bring a panel. I will plug this curve here. I can see here I have one list of all the curves that I want to extrude. I will create a copy from this panel, Control C, Control V. As I can see, this is the projected curves. They have different data structure. It's a list of lists. Here I have one list that contain sublists, 7 sublists. Each sublist contain one element, and these elements are these projected curves. So each sublist contain one of those curves. So for the loft to succeed, what I need to do is to try to create a list of sublists like this one, but instead of having one element inside, I need to have in each of these sublists 2 elements. One element is one of the original curves, and the second element is the projection of its offset. So what I will do now, I will right click, choose flatten. So now here I have, just like here, one list of all the elements inside. I don't have sublists anymore, just one list with all the elements. Now what I should do, I will double click to bring a graft component. Graft tree. I will plug the original curves, and then I will create a copy of this graft, Control C, Control V. And by the way, if you want to know the component that I'm using, from which menu it comes, you can press the combination Control Alt and then click on the component. As you can see on top, it will take you to the menu and the sub-menu that this component comes from. So now let's check the data structure of these two grafted lists. So I will create a copy from this one. So as you can see here, I have a list of sublists. Each sublist contain one of those curves. Another copy for the other grafted. Here I have the same. I have a list of sublists, and each of the sublists contain one of the projected curves. So before adding the loft, I will make a copy of this panel and I will plug the two grafted lists. If you want to add another input to this to a component, you have to press shift and then click and drag. So now if we look closely, we see now we have a list of sublists. Each sublist contain two elements. One element is one of those original curves. The second element is the projection of its offset. So now if I use the loft instead of this panel, the loft will go inside of this big list, and then the loft will find that first the loft will see this first sublist. It will go inside and create a loft between those two shapes. Then it will stop, and then since the loft will see that there is another list inside, it will go inside and create a loft between those two, and so on. So I will delete this panel. I will go to Surface, Loft. I will plug the first grafted list and press Shift and add the second one, and as you can see, it works. Now, one thing I need to mention: if you see that the extrusion is not working well, that means while this curve is being extruded, there is some cross section here. It's not extruding in a clean way like this. You probably need to go back here to this component that is referencing those two shapes here, and right click again, choose set multiple curves, and choose these curves in a different order that you did in the first time. For example, when I've chosen those two shapes, I started with this one, then this one. So just keep in mind this. Now let's go back to our definition. Here I have grasshopper geometry, so if I want to convert these to rhino geometry, I can right click on the loft, choose bake, choose a layer to put the geometry in, and click OK. I will select those and move them aside. Now I have one version. I can now create a different version of these extruded curves. For example, I can choose those two curves and move them up. Maybe play around with the tapering. I can shrink it or make it bigger. I can maybe move one of the curves up, or move one of those curves to a different place. It will adapt, and go back here to loft, right click, bake. Okay, and now I have a different version. So basically that's it. If you liked the video, please press the like button, and please subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching.